Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending the CARES Academy monthly webinar series. This month we have Recovery Resources of Midtown, and they're going to present on diversity and program development. During this training, the Recovery Resources of Atlanta Midtown staff will describe some of the processes to develop programming that addresses diversity. I want to go ahead and get the housekeeping out of the way. First of all, my name is Loree Talbert, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. What that means to me is that it's been 12 and a half years since I've used drugs to change how I think and feel. Recovery has changed my life for the better. I'm a better mother. I'm a better employee. I'm a better wife. I'm a better community member. And I speak out about recovery because I want others to have the opportunity. Hey, Cynthia, I want others to have the opportunity to see that recovery is real and that recovery works. This is a webinar, so you won't be able to see your faces. You won't be able to share your screen. You will be able to chat. And also, if you have a question, you can either raise your hand or you can put your question in the question box, and then I will call on you. Also, I know that you all were surprised to get that certificate. So now we're going to start out sending certificates to everybody who attends the webinar. And please keep it safe, because at the end of the year, this year, you will be required to upload all your certificates when you submit your CEUs at the end of the year. Okay. I guess that's about it. You're going to get 1.5 CEU for attending this. So this is going to be interactive. We hope for you that we get 100% participation. And with that, I will give you Miss Christine Love from Recovery Resources Atlanta Midtown.
Thank you so much. And good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Larry. And thank you for your testimony. God bless you. My name is Christine Love, and I'm just going to hold on one second because I hear feedback. This part at the top. Okay.
Yeah,
can you hear me, Larry?
Feedback. You sound really good.
You can hear me good? Okay,
yeah.
Awesome. I am humbled and honored to be before you today as the new executive director of Covenant Community Incorporated, a life stabilization program for men in addiction recovery, and the parent organization of Recovery Resources of Atlanta Midtown. And I'm here today with my amazing team, Ms. Deborah Bacote-Taylor, who is a CPS, as well as Anna Cares, as well as Mr. Sean Mason. And we are going to share some exciting, hopefully fruitful information with you this morning about diversity in recovery programming. I consider myself a person who is an ally of all of you. I refer to myself as the residue of the 80s. I'm what's left after crack swept through public housing projects, indiscriminately taking men, women, and children, including my parents and several of my family members. And so I experienced foster care, 14 foster homes, group homes, and shelters. And so I'm deeply impassioned about this work and the service to our community. And I'm hoping to have a great conversation with you all today. Please bear with us and grant us some grace. We are figuring this thing out together. So thank you all so much and welcome. I am going to share my screen, and the next voice you hear will be that of none other than Ms. Deborah Bacote-Taylor.
Hello, my name is Deborah Bacote-Taylor.
1 second, Deborah. Christine, can you mute yourself?
Hello, my name is Deborah Bacote-Taylor, and I'm the Deputy Program Director for the Recovery Resources of Atlanta Midtown, a program of Covenant Community Incorporated. I am a person in long-term recovery. It has been 8 years and 7 months since I've used any mind or mood-altering substances. And what that means for me is that I now have an improved quality of life that allows me to now work in peer support and, pay back, give back what was so freely given to me, and I can pay forward as well. I think that this is my purpose, to be able to share so much of what I have learned with others to help them to maintain long-term recovery. The Recovery Resources of Atlanta Midtown is a peer-led recovery community organization that supports individuals and families who are seeking to or successfully maintaining long-term recovery from substance abuse disorders. Recovery Resources of Atlanta Midtown provides the following services and activities, such as individual peer check-ins, group check-ins, family supports, transportation supports, housing supports, artistic recovery support, and employment services. When it comes to diversity and my role at the Recovery Resources of Atlanta Midtown, I facilitate all recovery meetings. And so how does diversity fit into my all recovery meetings? We recognize that each individual is unique here, and recognizing that we recognize our individual differences. These can be along the dimensions of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, physical abilities, religious beliefs, political beliefs, and other ideologies. An all recovery meeting is non-denominational, meaning that all pathways of recovery are embraced here. So that is how I deal with diversity in my all recovery meetings. The makeup of individuals in recovery from alcohol and drugs is growing increasingly diverse. Many are from marginalized communities who face additional barriers when it comes to getting and staying sober. As such, the landscape of diversity and inclusion work in recovery should shape-shift to address, reflect, and actively include these individuals. Inclusion does not entail dismissing or minimizing another's experience. It is the practice of policy of providing equal access to resources and opportunities for individuals from marginalized groups, such as people with physical or mental disabilities, or those who identify as being part of the LGBTQIA+, which is the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, and the TGN-CNB, which is transgender, gender non-conforming, and non-binary, and or the BIPOC, which is the Black, Indigenous, people of color communities, to name a few. As a woman of color, I can attest to the need for greater inclusivity in recovery meetings and institutions. Let's take a look at why inclusivity is essential to more holistic landscape for long-term recovery and how it can benefit everyone involved.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sean Mason. I am the Director of Community Engagement for the Recovery Resources of Midtown and Covenant Community Incorporated.
Sean, you just muted yourself. We can't hear you. Bottom left. Give us one moment, guys. No worries.
How about now?
You're good to go.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. My name is Sean Mason, and I am the Director of Community Engagement for the Recovery Resources of Atlanta Midtown, which is a program of Covenant Community Incorporated. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and what that means to me is that it has been 29 years and 5 months since I've used a mind or mood-altering substance. What I wanted to talk about today was how mainstream recovery falls short. Traditional recovery spaces, namely Alcoholics Anonymous and other 12-step programs, function on the heteronormative and cisgendered instances that men stick with men and women stick with women when it comes to choosing a sponsor. There is also a singleness of purpose, which is to carry the message of hope to the suffering alcoholic and to avoid discussing outside issues or items unrelated to alcoholism. While I appreciate the focus that this can bring in a meeting, what constitutes outside issues can be intrinsic to one's addiction. Recovery story for those from underrepresented communities. The traumas I've experienced related to my identity are interconnected to my predilection for misusing substances. I used to disavow my hyper awareness around otherness and to feel a part of.
Can you all see the slides? Press mute again, Sean.
We do see the slides, but we see it in the
Okay, great.
review. You can hit from current slide, and then we'll see slideshow view.
Oh,
There
great.
you go.
We needed some technical support.
That's okay. Can we
Okay.
take a moment? real
Recovery
quick?
is possible, and we know that. However, as Sean mentioned, in traditional spaces such as Alcoholics Anonymous, there is a singularity of men with men and women with women, and it is really focused on usually a faith-based area, which is why Covenant Community and resources, Recovery Resources of Atlanta Midtown offers all pathways to recovery. So Sean, would you like to just jump back in and tell us about all of the pathways of recovery that we focus on?
Excuse me, before y'all do that, do y'all mind if we do that poll question?
Sure.
Let's see who's in the room, guys. You don't have to change your screen. You can left it up.
Okay, I'm trying to figure it
There
out.
you go. So basically, this question is about who's here in the room. Are you number one, a peer providing support to people seeking or in recovery? Are you a family member or a close friend of a person in or seeking recovery? Number three, are you a person who supervises peers who provides services to other people in recovery? Number four, a person who is primarily involved in administration or administration services? Or are you a person providing clinical services to people in or seeking recovery? So right now, I only have about 44% of y'all who has voted. Let's try to get 100%. I'll give you a few more seconds to vote. And I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Wow, guys. So we have 88% of the peers here who are peers providing support to people seeking or in recovery. So this is great because they're going to be able to know some of the services that you all have and that may be able to help some of the peers they serve. We have family members. We have people here who supervise peers, who provide services. We have a person who's primarily involved in administration. And we even have a clinician here, a person providing clinical services to people seeking or in recovery. Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you. Go ahead, Sean. You just have to unmute. Sean, you have to unmute. We can't hear you. Probably left-hand corner. I just asked you to unmute.
Okay.
There you go.
Recovery Resources of Atlanta Midtown recognizes that there is no one-size-fits-all pathway to recovery. We support, embrace, and host multiple pathways to recovery to ensure that our peers have access to the pathway that best suits them, such as Smart Recovery, All Recovery, NA and AA, Refuge Recovery, Celebrate Recovery, Double Trouble, Sex and Gamblers Anonymous, and Harm Reduction.
Thank you, Sean. And so according to, as I mentioned, according to a recent report from the Public Religious Research Institute in Georgetown University's Berkeley Center for Religion, Peace, and World Affairs, 1 in 4 young adults choose unaffiliated when asked about their religion. So when we have peers who drop into our center, we want to make sure that we're clear that they do not have to affiliate with any pathway that they don't feel comfortable with. They have a plethora of pathways that they can choose from. Individuals from the LGBTQIA and BIPOC community are more likely to experience addiction to alcohol, drugs, and other compulsive behaviors. This can be attributed to many variables, including, but obviously not limited to, race and gender identity-based discrimination in systemic oppression, social stigma, microaggressions, racism, violence, and other kinds of identity-related trauma happening at home. I would argue most individuals recovering from alcohol and drugs are also recovering from a sense of abandonment, from self-abandonment and active addiction, and also being abandoned by friends or family, to potentially feeling abandoned and not being seen or heard in recovery spaces that might wave the compulsory, illusory, safe space flag, but really fall short in practice. How COVID-19 has impacted peer recovery supports. I will turn this over to Ms. Deborah. And you can continue with items towards inclusivity. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You named a couple of meetings that y'all have that I don't know what they are.
We're going to have a glossary at the end.
Great. Okay.
Mhm.
So again, how COVID-19 has impacted peer recovery supports. Identity-specific meetings. Should I read this part here? Should I read this? Okay, so COVID-19 and recovery, compounding behavioral health issues. The COVID-19 pandemic has spotlighted racial and ethnic disparities in access to behavioral health care. While their rates of behavioral health disorders may not significantly differ from the general population, Blacks and Latinos have substantially lower access to mental health and substance use treatment services as shown. And this diagram is from SAMHSA, and it shows the access to services. Given the existing impediments to care for Blacks and Latinos due to social determinants of health, COVID-19 pandemic will place those with behavioral health problems at even higher vulnerability. Blacks and Latinos have lower access to needed treatment, often permanent treatment permanently, prematurely, forgive me, and experience less culturally responsive care.
Blacks and Latinos have limited access to prevention, treatment, and recovery services for substance use disorders, right? That's clear. While they have similar rates of opioid misuse as the general population in recent years, Blacks have experienced the greatest increase in rate for overdose deaths from non-methadone synthetic opioids. That's according to SAMHSA 2020. Strategies are needed to prevent disruption of substance use treatment, recovery services, increase capacity for telehealth, and support individuals with substance use disorders and serious mental health illnesses who have COVID-19. Disruption of recovery support groups, closing of clinics, and cutting harm reduction efforts such as syringe service programs may trigger relapses and increase rates of hepatitis and HIV. Black and Latinos with mental health and substance use disorders are more likely to be incarcerated and homeless than the general population, placing them at increased risk for COVID-19. Homelessness and incarcerated individuals have extreme challenges following CDC guidelines for social distancing, washing hands, and self-quarantining. Incarcerated individuals re-entering the community without adequate treatment services and supports may be at a higher risk for COVID-19. And I believe that Sean and Ms. Deborah can really speak to that as the persons at the front door when we see folks coming in who are experiencing homelessness, who are re-entering the community. These are real figures, real numbers in real time. You have a portion about inclusivity on this sheet.
On slide 3.
We have a question. Is it okay with the question? Amy Harrell says, can she give this information somewhere about the COVID and addiction and disproportionate care? Deborah, can you unmute?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Great. Again, I'll start from the beginning. The identity-specific meetings is what I'll be talking about. When I started attending recovery meetings in 2013, it wasn't easy finding people who looked like me and shared lived experiences to mine. The physical makeup of the meeting attendees at my initial home groups was homogenous. Thankfully, because of my desperation to stay away from drugs and alcohol, it was so much greater that it didn't matter at first. So I did attend those meetings, and I didn't, I felt like I stuck out in those meetings, and I just didn't. I just needed transient relief, and to know that I didn't have to get sober alone, and to see others too, and had encountered days sober, who had encountered days sober just like mine, or counted days sober just like mine. I am grateful for the women whose generosity of spirit and nurturing nature kept me coming back. I branched out and started attending meetings designated for women. But the idea that meetings could be created for individuals from marginalized communities seems so far away, and so far from reality. However, I'm hopeful that 8 years later, I am still hopeful, I'm an optimist, and 8 years later, these spaces have started emerging. Currently, the intergroup of Alcoholics Anonymous lists over 50 meetings labeled LGBTQ and people of color. I expect these meetings will grow over time to reflect a beautiful diversity of those in attendance. To sit in a recovery space with other similar lived experiences around race and gender identity is invaluable.
And so what we can do as peers, peer navigators, coaches, and recovery support services is really similar to community health workers. And I'm not going to botch this Spanish, this Espanol up that we have here. We tried to be fancy, but if you speak Spanish, interpret it for me. You are critical for outreach, engagement, and linking Blacks and Latinos with mental health, substance use disorders to treatment. These peers know the community, are familiar with resources, and are able to communicate effectively with their clients. While peer contacts are usually in person, they can be virtual during the pandemic. And that's exactly what we've shifted towards. Many Zoom meetings, many hybrid meetings, so that we meet people exactly where they are without risking their health. There are some actionable items towards inclusivity that I'd just like to highlight. If I could get to my screen. Ms. Deborah, if you can share with us the culture of diversity, and then I'll jump into inclusivity. It's just on the screen.
When it comes to a culture of diversity, we would like to, respect a person's gender and the pronouns that they are using. So this is, after I did a little research, I found this chart here that shows various gender pronouns, and again, there are some that I was introduced, some I'm familiar with, but then there were those that I was introduced to. And
she, they.
Oh yeah, like she, they, or she, her, her, she, she, they, z, her, them, per, her, ver, them, zim, her, their, pers, her, this, zir, zer, hers, theirs, pers, hers, hers, zirs, zers, herself, themself, herself, herself, verself, zirself, and zerself. So those are just some, and I believe there are more gender pronouns. So this is Gender Pronouns 101. We'd like to introduce you to that. Thank you.
And so sorry, I don't give you enough time to turn the volume off. There's a plethora of actions we can take towards increasing inclusivity efforts in recovery spaces. Whether you identify as being a part of a marginalized group or an ally, try to state your personal pronouns when introducing yourself at a meeting, or even type it out next to your name when you log into a Zoom meeting. Normalizing asking someone for their personal, not preferred pronoun as well. Using someone's pronoun and normalizing stating your own is one step in creating a safer environment for mutual respect. When locations for recovery meetings open back up, including this one, see if the spot is wheelchair accessible? And if so, see to it that it's listed on your website. Inclusivity initiatives shouldn't just be enacted towards residents, attendees, and clients, but towards the hiring practices for staff. As the executive director, I can speak to that specifically. Our counselors, therapists, mentors, and other employees should be respected. Yet it is also essential to avoid onboarding the token diversity hire. We all know what that is, the token diversity hire, just to check a box to say that we have them there. Regardless, all staff members should be trained with cultural competency surrounding the needs of the marginalized clients in order to be closer to creating a safer space, whether navigating which recovery meetings to go to or sober living to residing. Recovering individuals should also consider who else will be in these spaces and the extent to which the institutions or facilities they may be considering are actively learning and applying equitable initiatives for all residents, including funding for those marginalized groups. And
Hey,
so I
Christina.
mentioned earlier that we had a glossary of terms, and I will share this PowerPoint with everyone that's present today. We can email it to you, and you can, customize it to your own using. Sharing is caring. But acceptance is appreciating and welcoming others for who they are as individuals without judgment. When we accept someone, it shows that we value and respect their identity, and that means who they are. Of course, anti-racism is clear. It is the active process of identifying and eliminating racism by changing systems, organizational structures, policies, practices, and attitudes so that the power is shared equitably. Accessibility is intentionally designing experiences such as a building, recreational facility, program, activity, or online resource to be easily usable for all individuals with disabilities. For example, creating an accessible pool could include incorporating pool lifts or sloped entries. Bias is a clear one, a preference for or against an individual that interferes with or influences fair judgment. Biases can be both conscious and unconscious. For more information about unconscious bias, check out the definition for implicit bias. And if you'll jump and give me the definition for ally and cultural competence, Mr. Sean.
Ally is it? Ally is a person from one identity group who speaks out to take action in support of individuals from another group. And cultural competency is the ability to interact effectively with people of diverse backgrounds and different, I can't see that, and in different identity groups by being sensitive, appreciative, respectful, and responsive to beliefs, practices, and cultural needs that are different from your own.
I think we have one question. If y'all would allow them to talk, and then I have one hand raised. So that was Amy. Let me find her name though. There you go, Amy. You can speak. Unmute yourself.
Now can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. This can wait till the end for you to answer it, but I'm really interested in getting this entire PowerPoint presentation. So I just want to know how I can get it.
If y'all want it, and if they don't mind, they can email it to me, and then I can email it to the peers, as a middle person. If you want to do that, you can email it to me, and I might be able to put it in the chat box if you do it when you have a chance. Also, Frank has a question. Frank Millington, you are unmuted. Frank, can you unmute yourself? You got your hand, you have your hand raised? All right, well, we'll move on. We don't have anything else. Thank you, Christina. No more questions. I don't have any more questions. If you have a question, either put it in the question box or raise your hand. Oh, we do. No, Frank, do you have a question? I'm gonna unmute you again. Go ahead, because your hand is back raised. All right, we're gonna move on from here, Christina. Maybe you don't have audio. Thank you, guys. You're muted.
Can you hear me? Hello? Okay, great. As it was stated, we will get a copy of this PowerPoint and make it accessible to everyone. So we're going to continue with the glossary. Disability is a mental or physical condition that restricts an individual's ability to engage in one or more major life activities. For example, seeing, hearing, speaking, walking, communicating, sensing, breathing, performing manual tasks, learning, working, or caring for oneself. When discussing people with disabilities, it is important to use person language that avoids defining an individual by their disability. By placing the reference to a disability after the reference to a person, for example, a person with a disability rather than a disabled person. Discrimination, unfavorable or unfair treatment of an individual or group based on identity labels such as race, ethnicity, skin color, religion, age, gender, physical or mental ability, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Equality, when everyone has access to the same rights, opportunities, and resources. Equity. Equity is when everyone gets what they need in order to have access, opportunities, and a fair chance to succeed. Equity recognizes the idea of equality, the same for everyone, may not address widespread disparities and individual circumstances where individualized solutions are necessary. And then implicit bias, Christine mentioned that earlier, the assumptions, stereotypes, and unintentional actions, positive or negative, we make towards others based on identity, labels like race, religion, age, gender, sexual orientation, or ability. Because our implicit associations are stored in our subconscious, we may act on our biases without even realizing it. Often our implicit biases contradict our values. Thank you.
Before you go, Sean. And so the point about the implicit bias that I really want us to pay close attention to is when we think about peer recovery supports and we think about medication assisted treatment, or we think about harm reduction, or we think about refuge recovery versus NA or AA or celebrate recovery, we have our own implicit biases, right? And so I'd like Sean to sort of speak to his experience in the AA arena and what we're doing at Covenant Community to change that. Great.
I accidentally muted you back. Go ahead, can you unmute?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Striving to provide safer recovery spaces for underrepresented groups won't be a perfect process. There will be disagreement, uncomfortable conversations, and one person's comfort could easily translate into another's trigger in the same space that strives to be safe. This is normal. I found avoiding triggers isn't helpful to my recovery sometimes anyway. Sometimes I need to be triggered to unravel some deeper truth about what exactly is making me uncomfortable. The stimulus, beauty, and pain of recovery is that it does not discriminate. Yet for those from marginalized communities, there is an added layer of needing additional support. I look forward to the growth and meaningful inclusivity initiatives in recovery spaces and the voices those efforts will finally allow to be heard and heal. On page 17 of Alcoholics Anonymous, diversity receives an important mention. Bill Wilson, co-founder of AA, writes, "We are average Americans. All sections of this country and many of its occupations are represented, as well as many political, economic, social, and religious backgrounds. We are people who normally would not mix, but there exists among us a fellowship, a friendliness, and an understanding which is indescribably wonderful." We've talked about some of the stereotypes that plague those suffering from disease of addiction and the fact that they are profoundly untrue. But while most of the stereotypes addressed revolve around personality myths, there are many other stereotypes as well. People tend to picture white meth users, Black crack users, impoverished drunkards, and wealthy pill poppers. And while all of these types of people naturally exist, they do not paint a full picture of the spread of addiction. Like many diseases, addiction is completely colorblind. It does not care how much money that you have. This is something we touched upon in our breakdown of addiction statistics and demographics. But again, this is not a full picture, because while it is important to understand that the disease can affect anyone, it is equally, if not more, important to understand that anyone can recover. Bill Wilson didn't write, there's a solution with the implication, but only if we're rich or a white man or a colorblind disease requires a colorblind solution, and that is the one he offered. Regardless of class, race, sex, gender, religion, or sexual orientation, recovery is attainable to those who are willing to work for it. And if we truly care about the principles that we need in order to make a successful run at recovery, diversity is something we must wholeheartedly embrace.
I'll go. Did you? Okay.
So why is diversity important? We are a large group comprised of many different types. We can't lose sight of what we have in common. The passage from "There is a solution" that we have quoted above continues. We are like the passengers of a great liner, the moment after rescue from shipwreck, when camaraderie, joyousness, and democracy pervade the vessel from steerage to captain's table. Unlike the feeling of the ship's passengers, however, our joy in escape from disaster does not subside as we go our individual ways. The feeling of having shared a common peril is one element in the powerful cement which blinds us. But that in itself would never have held us together as we are now joined. This is one of Bill's most powerful metaphors on the topic of fellowship. So it is important that it occurs right after he describes diversity within the program. Even more important, however, as those last two lines, yes, tragedy and disaster have a way of uniting people, but the fellowship and unity we celebrate in recovery cannot be conditional. It can have no exceptions, for it is when we're in acceptance of diversity begins, when our acceptance of diversity begins, making caveats that it has failed entirely. We cannot truly embody the concept of fellowship unless we are willing to do so in all its forms. In other words, we need diversity in recovery, not only to remind us that addiction is a powerful disease, and that it can affect anybody, but also that our recovery is largely dependent on our morals, values, and ethics rather. If a racist enters a recovery and does not do anything to resolve their worldview, then how can they be sure they will not find themselves tussling with emotional disturbances of their child if their child enters into an interracial relationship? How will a sexist in recovery be able to focus on speaker meeting in which a woman is telling her story? Then there are people with substance use disorder who may be homophobic and will not be able to hear a potentially good advice from peers in the LGBT community. We may use words like colorblind to describe celebration of diversity, but bigotry is where true blindness resides. When we hate one another or hate another person for being who they are, we are putting a barrier between ourselves and the rest of the world. This same barrier kept us in isolation during active addiction and in many ways may have fueled our use. If we wish to recover, to become better people, we must tear down this barrier indefinitely.
All right. So you will see diversity on the campus of Covenant Community and the Recovery Resources of Atlanta Midtown. At the RAM, we most definitely celebrate diversity. Most importantly, we recognize how diversity can impact our perceptions of our experiences. While two people may have been through similar situations, a person of a different background might feel differently about some of the experiences that may have befallen them. While we stress the understanding that addiction is a colorblind disease, we also do not discount the feelings and experiences of those who hail from diverse backgrounds. Instead, we as a team try to accommodate the needs of various backgrounds while still treating the addiction itself as we would any other case. We state on every section of our website, detailing our programs that we offer personalized care, and we like to believe this takes diversity into account. This does not mean that any member of a minority, whether related to race or gender, is treated with kid gloves. What it does mean is simply that we have taken each peer's former experiences into account when divining the best approach to their wrath. Every person suffering from the disease of addiction, regardless of background, is different. Their diversity, whether it's related to background or simply personality, is an important factor in deciding the best way to support them. Our team takes diversity seriously. We love to support you and your organization in doing the same. Even if the disease itself may frequently take on a similar appearance, we understand that diversity can affect recovery in a major way. Every peer who enters these doors will be treated with dignity and respect. We embrace the concept of fellowship without exception. Any program that fails to do this has lost sight of its goal to support as many peers in our community struggling with the disease of addiction as possible. So please, if you or someone you know is in need of recovery supports or training, or feel that diversity may be a barrier, please contact us today. Thank you. Please, let's clap it up for Miss Deborah and Mr. Sean. We had a rough time, y'all, but thank you for hanging in there with us. This was our first presentation together. And we were not, this was planned previously, but most of our staff was either out with COVID or quarantined. And so this was something that we needed to do, and we could not let Larry down. We just simply love her and support her. And so we pulled through, stumbling and all, but I hope that the information was beneficial to you. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
But Christina, y'all, we had like 40 minutes left. It's to 1 o'clock. So maybe we can get some questions, or y'all can go in deeper as far as which, tell us more about each of the mutual self-help meetings that you have.
Yes.
And we can give Al Cotton has raised his hand. Let me go ahead and let him. Is it okay if I let him talk? There you go, Al. Unmute yourself.
Hey, how are y'all?
We're good.
There we go. You can hear me now?
We can hear you.
Good. I was going to say one thing. I go to the Recovery Dharma meetings here in Birmingham, which were started when Refuge Recovery had sort of a Me Too type scandal. So Recovery Dharma is something that could be added to that list. It's a really good program, really strong program here in Birmingham.
Can you tell us more
I have
about
worked, it is a Buddhist-based recovery program, just like Refuge Recovery is, and it uses, instead of the 12 steps, it uses Buddhist principles for inventory. And it has 20 minutes of meditation in it, usually a guided meditation. So a lot of people come to it so they can learn about meditation. It's a really good program. There on both Refuge Recovery and Recovery Dharma, there is a national website with meetings that you can dial into and check in with. That's a good thing to look at. The other thing I was going to say is, here at the hospital, what I have been doing, I prepared a sheet called Getting Started with Zoom that I could give to my patients. It's a great opportunity to get people into any kind of program. It had an introductory list for each fellowship, like Crystal Meth Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Heroin Anonymous, NA, Recovery Dharma, Smart Recovery, all that sort of stuff. And having a sort of a starter sheet is a great idea for helping people find the program that might work best for them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alvin. Our email should be on another screen, or we'll get it to you. I just want to connect with you offline. Would love to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is Deborah, and Alvin, thank you again for the introduction to Dharma recovery.
Thank you. We have another person who has their hand raised. Nigel Smith.
Sorry, I'm all over you. It's okay. Come
Unmute yourself, Nigel. Thank you, Al.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Nick. I'm a person long-term recovery. I work here at the Dorton, DeKalb County, which stands for the DeKalb Open Opportunity for Recovery. I'm sorry. And I love your presentation. I thought it was wonderful.
Thank you.
I got a lot of insight. And we would love to, at some point, do a collaborative with you guys. Because we also think that we have a wonderful program out here too. So we would love to get some information, maybe do a collaborative venture.
We would love to. One of our goals, and it was a slide somewhere. I know I put it in, or I might have missed it. But one of the goals is certainly to increase partnerships and collaborations. And so Sean is actually our Director of Community Engagement. We're kind of hogging this screen here, but they can see you probably on the other one. And so we'll connect, definitely, because we don't want to duplicate services, right? We want to leverage services. And
Right.
That's what our funders want to see. So they want to see us working together. So yes, absolutely, let's do it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to entering the community and seeing how we can help you help your clients. That's basically what our goal is. Once this COVID thing is over, it's going to be an opportunity for us to really partner with those of you out there that are doing this great work.
Thank you.
And Nigel, it's Deborah. What is your organization's name?
The door.
I know the door.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Frank Ernest has a question. Frank, I just unmuted, I just allowed you to talk, so can you unmute yourself?
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to know if you could elaborate a little bit on the double trouble meetings.
Yes, this is Deborah, and I have been a facilitator of Double Trouble in Recovery since 2015. And that is a meeting that it deals with dual diagnoses. And so in a way, you get to, the participants get to express their mental health and addiction challenges. And so that's what that meeting is geared for.
Thank you very much, Deborah, and I appreciate all that you guys shared. And I'm Frank, and also I work at Navigate Recovery in Gwinnett, and I'm a recovery coach and the outreach coordinator here, and I'd like to get together with you guys also to maybe collaborate on some things.
Thank you so much, Frank.
So is Double Trouble basically, is it like a 12-step?
It is a 12-step meeting. I forgot to tell you, it is 12-step.
Okay, so it's based on mental health. It addresses mental health and
Addiction.
substance abuse. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or any other, coexisting disorders,
Okay. All right, thank you. Amanda Williams, you're unmuted.
Hey guys, my name's Amanda. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I'm also at the Georgia Council with Laree, and I am a peer recovery coach in the NICU in Gainesville and in Brazelton. And I just find this presentation so resourceful, and it's really great. I wanted to ask you, because I thought maybe y'all would have some connections for it. You know, we support mothers that might be in recovery, might not be in recovery, might be looking for recovery, and they're having babies at the hospital. We meet them where they're at. We support them no matter what they want to do. But something that I come across a lot, and it's really where my heart lies, is finding support with mothers that have lost custody of their children.
Yes.
I want to start, like, my future goal when I get back into the office is coming up with some kind of support group that will support these mothers, because you have mothers that are coming and having babies, but they've previously given their other children up for adoption, or they have no custodial rights, and their fear is that they're going to go through this again, and that's their only hope in getting them to find recovery. And I feel like as long as there's substance use disorder, there's always going to be a need to support these moms. And what about the ones that might not even get to keep that child? And I was just wondering if y'all knew of any good support groups or meetings that were around that maybe I could use for a resource.
That's a great question, Amanda. And let me just tell you, that's my sweet spot. Children and families, specifically those in child protective services. I worked with the division for over 5 years based on my personal experience as a child in foster care. My brother was born HIV positive and addicted to crack and removed. And so I'm really passionate about that population. I think you have hit a sweet spot for yourself. I think there's a need, and I think that we should sit down and collaborate and make it happen.
Yeah, I just, it's all about keeping families together. But my heart, I lost custody of my boys for a year. I got custody back of them. Life is wonderful. And that's all to the man upstairs in my recovery. But I feel like these women, they want a chance too. And
Absolutely.
I couldn't imagine not having my children, but how can I better support these moms that don't have theirs? What can I do? And so that's my goal. And thank y'all so much for this. This has been helpful. I would love to talk with y'all more in the future.
Absolutely.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
And to hop on what you were just saying, I did receive a contact yesterday for a young lady who has lost all 3 of her children, and she's trying to regain them, and she wants to enter into a treatment program. And as soon as I get off the phone, that's what I'm going to be working on. So it's odd that you just said that.
Wow.
Yes.
The need is there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I am aware of some
Go outside.
such as Mary Hall Freedom House, Maya's House, that give the women treatment, and they are able eventually to be reunited with their children if possible.
Right.
These are places that are here in Georgia. Maya's House is in Cairo, Georgia, and Mary Hall Freedom House is in Roswell.
Yeah, I have peers that went to Mary Hall. So yeah, it's a good place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a,
And we can
Cassandra Lee had a, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we can provide the services of support and connect them with the resources that are necessary to, eventually get their, be reunited with their family.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Cassandra, can you make your announcement or your comment? You are unmuted, Cassandra. Unmute yourself. Cassandra Lee. All right, she had put in a chat box. I'll go ahead and say it.
Yeah, she's from Rise.
She works at Rise, and she
Yeah.
they have a medication assisted treatment empowerment and support, or MATES for short, Zoom meeting. They have it every Monday night, and you can visit them at their website or call that number that she put in the chat box. Let's see. And Jonathan Reed, Jonathan, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you so you can speak and say what you were going to say.
Well, y'all, I really enjoyed the presentation too, and y'all probably had heard, but we had a couple of groups prior to the pandemic for people that were HIV positive at Galano Club, so that they could talk about HIV and AIDS issues in conjunction with recovery, and feel safe in doing so. We tried to keep one of them going on Zoom. Actually, I think it failed on Zoom, or there wasn't enough participation, and then they tried to do it in person, but it hasn't, things just haven't gotten back to normal yet. So,
yes.
But I think, specialized groups, ultimately, I think it's important for people to find a place they feel safe to recover. But then I always kind of try to push people to try other groups too, because it's diversity in a way.
Yes, exactly. Yes. But thank you, Jonathan, for sharing.
I really enjoyed listening to you guys.
Well, you're welcome, and we enjoyed sharing. Thank you.
All right, sorry about my phone, guys.
That's okay. Are there any other questions? Because we have a question for the audience.
Go ahead.
So, we actually introduced the various services that we provide here at the at the Covenant Community Incorporated and Recovery Resources of Atlanta Midtown. My question is to the audience, or our question is, what types of services do you need or would you like to see available? And so you could share that by raising your hand or in the chat box. That would be helpful to us. Transportation. Hi, Frank. We do provide transportation through providing MARTA cards.
That's great to know. I would like to get together with you and see how you guys, how y'all were able to do that, because we're struggling with that in Gwinnett County, very much so.
MARTA cards?
Yeah.
I can connect them to ACSS.
Okay, tell them.
The Atlanta Center for Self-Sufficiency does broker a discount MARTA card program, and I can get you the information to the person who administers that program, and perhaps you can be able to provide discount MARTA tickets to your clientele.
Excellent. Can I put my email address in the chat box?
Yes. Actually, we could be able to. We would also be able to sponsor some MARTA cards in the interim or whatever, however that needs to look. So if we can have another conversation, we can see exactly how we can help immediately and long term.
That's great, Sean. Thank you so much. I'll put my email address and information in the chat box.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is being recorded, right? So we
I
can
have
say.
one more question. Someone wants to know, what is refuge recovery?
I have the right here. Oh, there it is.
And then y'all have, I guess some people put some stuff in the chat box for you.
I'm trying to look it up. As,
I know it's
as,
a lot.
Yeah. Let me grab it.
Okay. So Cassandra Lee says that a mindful-based recovery, she would like to see that type of service.
Alvin Cotton says Refuge is a Buddhist recovery program.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sharing that and introducing us to that.
Al, did you want to say a little more about it? I'll go ahead and allow you to say something.
Well, I listened to Alvin share earlier about the Buddhist recovery program.
Yeah, I think he said Dharma, recovery Dharma.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it's called Dharma Recovery.
Yeah, so Al, can you say what's more about refuge recovery?
We're going to share that for you.
Oh, you're going to do it? Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm back. I was zoomed out if you want me to talk about it.
No, they said they got it.
Recovery, refuge
they said they got
started,
it, Alvin.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
Cool.
Thank you.
Oh, Alvin, he can. Tell Alvin.
I want to address, you want Alvin to say something? Well, there is a request for Alvin Cotton to speak out about the refuge of the Dharma recovery, the Buddhist recovery program. If you could talk about that a little bit, elaborate on that.
Okay. So it was founded by a Buddhist teacher named Noah Levine. It was founded as Refuge Recovery. It is completely non-theistic and is helpful for people who are dealing with higher power issues and who are resistant to Christian higher power issues. It is also good for people who want to learn how to meditate because it has 20 minutes of meditation, usually a guided meditation, and then a discussion. There's a book called Refuge Recovery, and there's a book called Recovery Dharma as well, because in 2018, there was a problem with the program. Noah Levine, the guy who was in charge, got caught up in a Me Too scandal, and there was a breakup with the board of directors. So Recovery Dharma is the meeting that most people go to nowadays. There are 6 meetings in Birmingham. It's a really strong fellowship here. It basically just helps people who want to do something other than 12-step. A lot of people also do Smart Recovery if they go to Refuge as well.
Oh, okay. We're familiar with Smart Recovery. Well, thank you so much. So to answer Cassandra's question about mindful, it's scrolling faster than the mindfulness recovery. Okay, mindfulness recovery. Frankers. We're trying to keep up with the chat room, so just give us a moment. Getting recovery.org. Now, we do Recovery Dharma at the Connection 4th site. Yeah. We're trying to take all these, you know, we can save it too.
Yeah, we want to go through.
Yeah, I think you can right click it and save all the chat. If
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see. I was sharing that refuge recovery is mindfulness-based recovery support. Okay, thank you so much, Cassandra, for that input. Jamie Roberts, we do Recovery Dharma at the Connection 4 site. That's good to know. Thank you for sharing that. Again, our question is, what types of services would you like to see? You know, or would you benefit from, or other than the ones that we've shared with you? Let's see, Jonathan Reed, was or is Covenant Community Resources located behind St. Luke's Episcopal Church on Cortlandt Street? No, we're located, we are a ministry or a mission of the All Saints Episcopal Church here in downtown Atlanta. And we're located on the campus of that church. So we are on, our main office is North Avenue, 25 North Avenue, that side. And then we have you can have parking like on, Ponce de Leon, Peachtree and Ponce de Leon. There's an entrance right across from the Varsity. We're right near the Varsity restaurant.
I was about to say that. That's how I remember y'all, right across, and Goodfellow Pizza, right, Jennifer? Right next door.
Not there anymore.
Yeah, Goodfellas isn't there anymore. We miss it.
But, oh no. Okay.
The
Vanya Sears, she has her hand raised. Vanya. No, I don't want to promote your channel, but I do want to allow you to talk.
Who's that? Okay. Who are you acknowledging, Loree?
I was going to use Vanya, but it's saying she can't talk. Hold on. Let me see. There you go, Vanya. You think you can? Because she had her hand raised.
Okay, we'll acknowledge.
Unmute yourself.
Okay.
There you go.
Hello. Hi. All right. Cool. I'm Vanya, not Vanya, but
sorry.
Hey, Vanya.
And I'm a person in long-term recovery for over 26 years. It's okay, baby. And I'm working here with Frank at Navigate Recovery, and transportation definitely is a barrier, but also childcare for peers that do have their children want to attend meetings. Childcare is a question that I have for service. Also, when the young lady was sharing about the NIC unit, are there plans for more facilities or treatment centers that allow the children to be there in? I know it's probably a few, but back in my day when I recovered, we had, children, family, mothers with children, and they recovered with us. They had parenting classes, of course, child care for us to do our own classes and this and that. But we learned how to, raise our babies in recovery. And so I think that was very instrumental for me. And so with that being said, also, I'm grateful for you guys because mostly because of CARES 40 and being here at Navigate Recovery, my mind has opened more to the different pathways of recovery. I know it's vital for me, with I'm a diehard with my pathway, but it's been very helpful and very humbling to listen and learn and get on webinars that promote, different pathways and talk about it. And so I'm really, really grateful for that. I know my way is a proven way, but it's not the only way. And so I'm just grateful. I just wanted to comment on a few things that were shared. So I appreciate you guys, and I'll be deviling in a little more with you all. Thank you so much.
Wow, Vanya, thank you so much for sharing. You know, that was a lot, but I tell you what, I did zone in on the childcare portion of your share. And yes, the two places that I mentioned, the Mary Hall Freedom House and the Maya's House, do allow the women to have their children there, you know, and that, you know, they can recover with their children present. And, you know, I know all of you are very curious about this. I'm going to get, you know, all right, I'm CARES 21, you know, the best, you know what I'm saying? So CARES 21 is in the
40.
So I know
New generation.
you was trying to find out.
Everybody think their CARES is the best.
Right, new generation 40 in the building.
Brittany
It's our playful
McCumber.
rivalry.
Yeah, Brittany McCumber has a question.
Go
Or
right
a comment.
ahead. Go right ahead. Here's the
Unmute yourself, Brittany.
shout outs. Here are shout outs. Go ahead with the question.
I'm trying to unmute her.
Okay.
Hold on.
I see all you
Promote
care
it. There you go,
shouting out.
Brittany. There you go, Brittany. You should be able to talk now. There you go. I think. Unmute yourself.
All you care shouting out.
Okay, well, we can pass her up. Cassandra, did you still have a question or comment? You are unmuted.
Hey, I just wasn't sure if you guys heard that we do a medication assisted treatment empowerment and support group here virtually every Monday night at Rise. In my effort to find some peace, because we got some stuff going on here at Rise, my Wi-Fi connection dropped. So I just wanted to share that. The other thing I wanted to share is that we also have a lot of young mothers and parents, actually a couple young men in recovery that are in the process or have just recently gotten their children back and come here for peer support. And so we've really been paying attention to that, and we would love to maybe collaborate and look into how we can better do that as a recovery community, just as a whole, so we can all offer some services to these young parents in recovery, or old parents in the recovery for that matter. But a lot of them, yes, going through DFACS, trying to keep their children or get their children back. And one of the ways we try to support those parents is we have a safe space where they can bring their children every Tuesday night for Art Speaks. It's our only in-person meeting at the moment, but it's every Tuesday night here at Rise. If peers need help with transportation, if they call our center, we will come get them from the train station with their children as well. So I just want to put that out there.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you, Cassandra. And you know, now you know what I look like. We talked to one another.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good to see you in person.
Yeah.
Relatively anyway. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for your input and your sharing of vital information. Your MAT meeting on Monday, what time is it virtually?
7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Yes, ma'am. And one of the services I see a lot of peers that need help with is recovery housing for people that are in medication assisted treatment and recovery. There is some available, but most of it is out of the metro area. And a lot of it, like St. Jude's offers recovery housing for people in medication assisted treatment only if they're on 30 milligrams or less, or on Suboxone. And most peers that are at a level of 30 milligrams or less, they're either tapering off or they're very new to the program, and they almost always go up above that. Average dose is 40 to 80 milligrams of methadone. And so it's almost like we accept you, but we don't accept you. And with the stigma of medication-assisted treatment in the rooms of recovery, it is changing and getting better. But I just encourage you all to try and support those peers without looking at them, as if they're medicated or just on another substance, because opiate dependence works very differently in the brain than other substances. So that's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cassandra. Say something.
Yeah, basically, Larry, I'd like to make sure that we, there were a lot of questions and a lot of things discussed, and what we'd like to do is make sure that we're able to get back in contact with everybody who would like to collaborate with us. Is there any way to, or should we post provide our email addresses now so that we can get that so that we can receive this information, or what's the best way of doing that?
You can, if you like, they can put their email addresses in there as well. If there's a way you would like for me to do it differently, if you would like for them to email me or email you, but it's open. You can put anything in the chat box that well, not anything, but you know what I'm saying. If it's okay, you can put your contact information in there.
Okay.
And if y'all have a flyer that you would like, you can put a flyer in the chat box or your brochure as well, if you would like to, or you can send it to me and I can send it out to everybody who participated if you like. Whichever one y'all think is best.
I think we're going to send, I think what makes most sense is for us to send you the presentation. It'll come and the three of us will be listed in that email. And so whoever wants to, and once you disseminate that, if anybody wants to reply, they can.
That sounds good to me. Somebody wanted you to share your first screen. That's in the question box. Please share your starter sheet.
Okay. Hold on.
S. Mason. Okay. But you're different from mine.
Guys, we have like 7 more minutes. Is there any more questions or comments at this time? Or do the presenters have anything they would like to say right now?
I just like to say thank you so much for the opportunity and the patience, as well as the feedback and the engagement. It feels really good to know that, we're not in this thing by ourselves. And we know that there's people all over doing great work. And so we just want to work with you guys to execute that. So thank you. I put the first screen back up. Is that the one you wanted to see?
Yeah, there was a Paula Simpson. Wait a minute, somebody saying something.
You want yours?
C-Love.
Oh, okay. All right. So guys, any more questions or comments? Oh, Michael Hightower, can you can speak? You are unmuted.
Okay, hello everyone. I enjoyed the webinar. I just want to say appreciate everybody sharing the questions and comments as well. And I can relate with the lady was saying about we shouldn't discriminate with people, how they maybe using other drugs to get off of drugs like methadone, whatever. Just like the vehicle I drive is AA, been since 1992, but in AA and other groups as well, we have coffee, cigarettes, sweets, cookies and all that. So no one should knock nobody how they're recovering. I just want to say that, everybody doing what's best working for them. I just want to add that in. So thank you all for what y'all doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to take a moment to tell you guys about the upcoming MAR Academy. It is scheduled for June 7th through the 11th. We are currently accepting applications now through April the 26th. Basically, the MAR Academy, it is a regular CARES Academy but it is designed for peers who currently or have used, well, currently or in the past, who have used medication assisted treatment to support their recovery. And it's just a place where they can share together, because oftentimes when they are in the community, they cannot share that they are taking medication to support their recovery. So if you know anyone who is using MAT medication, which is methadone, Suboxone, Vivitrol, or an abuse. And it's also for people who have used medication for alcoholism recovery. So if you know anybody who has the 2 years in recovery, and that means they can still be using the medication. So 2 years of recovery and a high school diploma or GED, can you please give them my email address so that we can get them set up and get started on the application process with them. I would love for them to come to a Ross workshop so that they can learn more about the application process. And I would definitely support them personally. And I'm putting it in the chat box, my email address. Andre Roberts, you have your hand raised. You are unmuted.
Good morning. I just wanted to say, afternoon rather, I just wanted to congratulate the staff there at RAM and thank them for the presentation. I have an idea of some of the challenges that are faced with putting this on, and I am thoroughly enjoyed it. Just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andre. Thank you.
All right. I think that's really all the questions we have.
Yes. May I make an announcement? May I make an announcement before we go?
You can.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that on Saturday, where are we at? Okay, I lost the date. Friday, May 14th, we will be having an outdoor barbecue with music, celebrating the Covenant Community Men of Hope, who are our graduates, who are our alumni, and the Covenant Community residents here at our location. So you guys, excuse me, and the 2-year RAM celebration. So we're inviting you guys to come through. You can contact us for more information.
Awesome. That is so great. I just want to thank you guys. Guys, let me tell you, we had some issues, both of us. I definitely had some issues with my Zoom, and we almost didn't have this presentation today. I appreciate the presenters working with me and being patient with me as we got this webinar together and developed it for you. I appreciate all the work they put into this beautiful presentation. I just want y'all to come back and, do this again sometime, present. It was just lovely working with all of you. And I want to thank all the peers for attending. Again, you will receive a certificate for 1.5 CEUs for attending this webinar. Give me a couple of weeks, guys, because I'm going on vacation tomorrow. So give me a couple of weeks, before you start emailing me about it. And I just want to thank everybody for coming, for their participation, and it was beautiful.
Exactly.
And, thanks again, Deborah, Sean, and Christine. We love you and we appreciate you here at the Georgia Council.
Thank you. We love you guys. God bless you.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. Thank you, everybody, for participating today and allowing us to share who we are. We are Covenant Community Incorporated, 30 years and counting, as well as RAM Recovery Resources of Atlanta, celebrating 2 years. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Did y'all put your address in the chat box? Recovery Resources. So anybody want to come to that event? You said it's Saturday. What's Saturday again?
Friday. May 14th.
It's Friday, May 14th.
Friday, May 14th, guys. We always say care, show up. So show up and support that person if you can. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to send the presentation and the information to everybody who attended. I'll email it to you once I get it, okay?
Thank you. You'll have it today, Ms. Lorraine.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So